Wealth, this is according to Oxfam, of the world's 85 richest people is equal to the 3.5 billion poorest people.
It's fantastic. And this is a great thing.
At 400 workers and replace them with robots. Una will see them, they cry for outside because Amazon don't sack them and replace them with robots. Amazon talk say robot is cheaper for them, and also they know they pay tax put. And apart from say it they cheaper, they know they pay tax. They know they pay a salary again every month. Once you don't buy them with $30,000, you go still they do the job where you might be. They go still they do. And the worst part of all is say robot they do the jobs faster. The job when human being go use 8 hours, the robot go do it for 1 hour. Then of what use is a human being now to them? You understand me? So for now, the work they know say the robot go they go need them for they buy a lot of robots, drive a lot of workers, and they are really making money from it now. Then now whether they call them Will Smith don't come and come to say this kind of thing is not good. How can robots replace the work of a human being? Very, very soon now, because robots now they work for farm. Robots now, as I tell you, so they work for farm. Robot now, they drive taxi. Robot now, they drive bus. Robot now, they work for office. Then they work for restaurants. Then they work for everywhere now. Do you understand me? So they are taking the job of human being away and replacing them with robots. In many years to come now, taxi drivers, they will lose their job because why? A lot of taxi will be controlled by robots. People when they sell for restaurants, they will lose their job because why? People now they buy.
The return to office is literally layoffs in disguise, or quiet layoffs. Let me explain. Whenever they do a forced return to office, a small percentage of people at the company will end up quitting. This might be to do with someone not being able or willing to do the daily commute. It could also be because they are located out of state because the company was previously fully remote and they are not willing to uproot their family, sell a house, buy a new house, do all the things that are needed to relocate to work at the same company. Therefore, they're forced to quit. For the company, this is a great strategy. Number one, they don't get all the negative press and feedback from doing layoffs, particularly around the holiday time. And they also don't need to pay anybody that quits any type of severance as part of a layoff package. We've also seen a pattern of companies forcing people back to the office, and then if enough people don't quit, then they are still doing layoffs. I would love to be in the boardrooms of some of these companies when they make the decision. I can just see them smiling about it, going, wow, this is a really smart idea. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Have you ever wondered why you need to raise your hand to ask your teacher for permission to ask a question? Hopefully the question does not contradict their teachings, because then you'll be sent to the principal's office and you will be put in detention. Sounds very much like prison. Many times you want to use the restroom and they say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll let you use the bathroom. And hopefully, fingers crossed, you're allowed to use the bathroom, but before you use the bathroom, you're given a hall pass. This hall pass gives you the allowance to walk down the corridors of your school, surrounded by concrete walls and fluorescent lights. Hopefully you have your hall pass when the hall monitor stops you, lest you break the rules. All of this is conditioning, designed to keep you a slave, designed to keep you subjugated and controlled. You may think they're small nuances, but if you think the world operates by chance and that things just happen, then you really don't understand how the game is played. When the bell goes off at recess, it very much resembles an assembly line. When the bell goes off, it's break time. But it does not only resemble the factories, it also resembles the prison industrial complex. When the bell goes off, well, that's when the inmates have access to the yard to enjoy some of the rays of the sun and hopefully some grass. All of these things are by design. When you're in primary school and middle school and high school, you are conditioned to transition these behaviors and these thoughts and these operating systems to university, where you do not question authority. You do not question the person in charge. You're then led to the financial office to receive financial aid. But is it really aid? We understand that there is no such thing as a free lunch. So when you're pulling out these loans, subsidized and unsubsidized loan, look them up. You'll realize that in fact, you are becoming a slave. Andrew Jackson, who's on the $20 bill, famously said, when you are in debt, you become a slave. So what best time to make somebody a slave when they have no understanding of the financial system, when they have not been educated as to how the world works, and they end up in a situation where all they do is nurture their ideas from a source of authority that has been fabricated out of thin air. The Bible also says the borrower is the servant of the lender. And the people that run the financial system of the world understand that once you go from primary school to middle school to high school, you then become an autonomous individual. And the only way to keep you a slave is to keep you in debt. So this higher education for most people is in fact another level of the matrix, another level to subjugate and control every aspect of your life.
Wealth, this is according to Oxfam, of the world's 85 richest people is equal to the 3.5 billion poorest people.
It's fantastic. And this is a great thing because it inspires everybody, gets the motivation to look up to the 1% and say, I want to become one of those people. I'm going to fight hard to get up to the top. This is fantastic news, and of course I applaud it. What can be wrong with this?
Really?
Yes, really.
So somebody living on
I celebrate capitalism.
$1 a day in Africa is getting up in the morning and saying, I'm going to be Bill Gates.
That's the motivation
Only
everybody
thing
needs.
between me and
I'm
that
not
guy
against
is
charity.
motivation. I just need to pull up my socks.
I am not.
Wait, I don't have socks.
Look, don't tell me that you want to redistribute wealth again. That's never going to happen. Okay?
You know what? You take a simple stat like this, which is neither good nor bad. It's just a fact.
It's a celebratory stat. I'm very excited about it. I'm wonderful to see it happen. I tell kids every day, what's wrong with this?
Comes up at a cocktail party.
No, Amanda, what's wrong with this statement?
One possible response
if you work hard, you might be stinking rich.
We're talking about people in extreme abject poverty. That's how you get 3.5 billion.
No, we're not. You were just talking about really rich people.
No. Okay. I'm going to tell you later what you should say to this. Coming up after the break.
The majority of the people in the world, 99% of them live in slavery today. So in 1863, via the Emancipation Proclamation, and I challenge you to go look in a law dictionary and look up the definition of emancipation and proclamation, and you will see that a proclamation is not a law. A proclamation is a public announcement by elected officials. It is not a law. So the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 did not set any slaves free. What it did was standardized slavery, the United States being the model for the standardization of slavery, that all of the other nations around the world, as they reduced their people from their sovereign capacity and forced them to join nation states, then they were able to issue statute, codes, ordinances, resolutions on them. And a statute, as in a state statute of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, is not a law. It is corporate policy of the corporation that calls itself the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Incorporated. All right? Now, a code is not a law. The United States codes, the code of the laws of the United States of America that are used in federal court and the Supreme Court are not law. They are what they say they are. They are codes, ordinances, and resolutions of a municipality.
Motherfuckers always asking me my dream job like I just like working. Bitch, I hate working. I tell people all the time, bro, my dream job is to not have a job. I hate clocking in. I hate talking to managers. I hate having meetings. I hate having coworkers. I hate everything about having a job. I hate having to wait on a paycheck. I hate this shit. I really hate this shit. I hate working this job. I hate working a job. I tell people this shit all the time. I don't want a job. I don't want a job. I want to act, I want to rap, because shit like that, it don't feel like a job. I want to do shit that doesn't feel like a job. It don't feel like a job. I got to wake up in the morning and swipe a card, or I got to get on Chronos and log in, get on ADT, log in. I got to motherfucking receive a call from my manager and be like, hey, did you do this? I don't want to hear none of this shit. I'm tired of this shit on my mama. I'm 2 seconds away, 2 milliseconds away from slapping my manager, my boss, and all my coworkers. I swear to God, and whoever own this company, and whoever own a company. I swear to God, I hate working. We always get underpaid. And it's so crazy because your job not really your job. It's just your turn, because at the end of the motherfucking day, they can fire you whenever the fuck they want to. If they getting low on business, they can fire you and they gonna call it a layoff, because of course you able to get unemployment if they, they call it a layoff. But I'm just saying, like, your job is not really your job. It's just your fucking turn. You could be down bad on your ass and you really need to work overtime and you can't even fucking work overtime. You don't even got a job no more. You don't even fucking know because they low on business right now. But I don't like this shit. I don't like this shit. I don't like this shit. And I really hate the fact that I got to depend on this shit right now. But one day, I'm not going to need to depend on this shit. One day, I'm not going to need to depend on this shit and deal with these stinking ass customers, deal with these stinking ass managers, deal with these stinking ass coworkers. I just hate it.
Do you want to see how the wealthy actually talk about the poor? Let's take a look at a conversation that occurred between John Taffer and Laura Ingraham. Keep in mind that John Taffer is worth $14 million and Laura Ingraham is worth $40 million.
What if we gave that additional unemployment benefits to employers to incentivize people to go to work?
Well, what if we just cut off the unemployment? I mean, hunger is a pretty powerful thing. I don't mean physical hunger, because people who truly are in need help. I'm talking about people who can work but refuse to work. John, I want to ask you, though, about this idea of work-life balance. Have we taken that a step too far when you think of, well, a lot of the millennials talking about, I need time for self-care. I don't know why I'm harping on that tonight, but the whole self-care movement is a little, my mother is not with us anymore, but she worked by the time she was 12 during the Depression. If she heard the self-care thing, I think her head would explode.
I think that's right.
Old
I have
school.
a friend in the military who trains military dogs, Laura, and they only feed a military dog at night because a hungry dog is an obedient dog. Well, if we're not causing people to be hungry to work, then we're providing them with all the meals they need sitting at home.
So let's break this down. First, Laura suggests that they should cut off unemployment altogether because being hungry is a good motivator. And even though she's quick to correct that she doesn't mean physical hunger, I don't believe that, and I'll get into why as we're breaking this down. Next, Laura brings up the idea of self-care in a mocking tone, and then lauds up this example of her mother who started working when she was 12. Because that's what they want. Trust me, the wealthy would be dying to employ your children if child labor were still legal. Not to mention that the idea that you should take care of yourself to them is laughable. You exist to work. Didn't you get the memo? And next, John Taffer talks about how when you train military dogs, you have to keep them physically hungry, and compares the poor to dogs who should be allowed to starve so that they'll go out and work. Which is why I don't believe Laura Ingram's statement that she's not talking about physical hunger. And this whole conversation is predicated on this idea that Laura put out at the beginning of this clip saying that, people who can work but don't. It's just this fake idea that people have been putting out there for decades that the majority of people on unemployment or on welfare are people that are completely capable of working but choose not to. Even though the standards for qualifying for unemployment are incredibly high. These wealthy people don't give a crap about you and would rather see you starve to death if you're not able to work toward their bottom line. We need to stop protecting them. We need to stop defending them. And we need to stop voting against our own best interests to further their wealth.
Well, it's that time of the year here in Arizona. We call it the nice time of year because we've got two different seasons. You've got nice and you've got hot. Now, the good thing about the hot season is even though it's hot, particularly in my industry, there's a ton of work to do. This time of year, that's when all the layoffs start, myself included. Until after the first of the year, I'm going to have to sit home. So as I'm sitting here, I decided to do some research on layoffs and hiring freezes. I did some searching into that, and just in this month of December, you can go through this list, and I'm looking at, this is Intelligence, my source here, and it covers in all of the major companies that are listed here, not just in the United States, but basically all over the world. Starting in December, the first one that comes up is Ingram Micro, the IT service. They lost 850 jobs in December. Airbus Aviation USA, 500 jobs. and then it goes down to November. And I'm skipping over Canada, Germany, France, Japan. I'm just focusing on the USA. So in November of 2024, just last month, Ford laid off 4,000 people. Boeing laid off 700 people. As I continue down the list here, KFC laid off 2,274 people. And I'm skipping over again, Germany, Japan, Germany, France. Okay, go back to KPMG Financial Services, laid off 300. Let's see here. Visa Financial Services laid off 1,400. Dropbox here in the USA, 528 in October. More in October. So Bread Financial Services laid off 500 in October. Fidelity International laid off 500. Boeing in October laid off 17,000 employees. Amazon laid off 14,000 employees in October. You guys hearing about this shit on the news at all? Is anybody talking about this? Has anybody brought it up? September, General Motors, 1,695 employees laid off. Pitney Bowes Technology USA, 1,200 employees laid off. PwC Financial, 1,800 employees. That was in September. Moving on to September now. So this has been going on, trickling down, as they say, for quite a while now. We all saw the writing on the wall. IBM Technology USA, 1,000 employees in August. Scale AI Technology USA, 1,000 employees in August. MasterCard Financial Services USA, 1,000 employees. 3 companies laying off 1,000 people. Okay, and the list goes on and on. CarMax, 401 in August. Cisco Technology, 1,000 in August. Biotechnology, Lykos Therapeutics, 75% of their workforce they laid off. Stellantis Automobile, 2,450. Paramount Global Manufacturing USA, 2,000 employees in August. The list goes on and on. TIAA Banking USA, 1,000 employees in August. Man, Intel Technology, 15,000 people in July. You guys heard anything about this on the news? I had to research this to find out what's really going on. They're telling us that the economy is doing great right now. Horse shit. July this year, Rex Airlines Aviation, 600 employees. Cartwright Retail, 1,500 employees. This is all in the United States of America. Optum Healthcare, 524 employees in July as well. Amdocs Technology USA, 3,000 employees in July. The list goes on and on. There's thousands upon thousands and thousands of workers that are now out of work right now, while we have these people, and myself included, that are out of work right now, while we have the Democratic Party swearing up and down that the economy is doing fine. Well, I'm looking at a goddamn list here that just goes on and on and on. I've just gotten to June. Microsoft Technology, June, 1,500 workers. June, Hill Motors Automotive, USA, 1,300 workers. It's shocking when you see this. Will have us believing that everything is doing fine. Look at this. Look. Indeed Technology. Okay, so that's a job finding. So they laid off 1,000 people at Indeed. Citigroup, Chase, Citibank, whatever you want to call it, banking, financial use, 4,500 workers. The list just keeps going on. Vasca Tourism, 800 employees. You can find this list, by the way, if you're interested and you want to see this. It's under Intelligence, INTELLIZENCE. Excuse me. But like I said, that's just the United States of America. So when you total up, there's millions of people that are on layoff right now. And that's just one of what how many pages here? Yet the Democrats will sit there and say that everything's fine and the economy is doing great. I don't think people realize how bad it's getting right now. It's tanking. It's tanking everywhere. everything's falling apart. Based on what I'm seeing here, the only other reason, I mean, why would these companies be laying off this huge amount of people? Let's say they're just hemorrhaging money. You scared yet? Fucking terrified.
The comfort of the rich depends upon an abundant supply of the poor. That quote is from Voltaire, and it is very applicable to these times. A lot of folks in response to some of my videos have said, gee, Denise, why would Trump want to tank the economy? What would he gain from that? I would point you back to 2014 when Trump was quoted as saying he wanted to take the economy down, the American economy. What's he gain? He gains credibility with oligarchs. He gains favors. He gains actual money. We know this guy's for sale. So he widens that wealth inequality gap, gives more to oligarchs, gives more to business, and he instantly makes more of us poor. Why? Why do you want more poor people? Because when you're poor and you're up against the ropes, and I know this from personal experience because that's how I grew up. I watched my parents go through this. I watched my relatives go through this. When you're against it, you will do anything to preserve that tiny shred of human dignity that you have. You'll work for subpar wages. You will work 15-hour days. You will eat crappy food. You will do all the things because frankly, at that point, you're just trying to survive. So yes, he and his cronies and the oligarchs would benefit tremendously from putting all of us in the poorhouse. And we're already well on our way. Wisen up.
We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40-50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around.
So this dork right here, Tim Gurner, is the guy in that video who literally just said that we should make working class people suffer more so they can appreciate being employed by their employer. Y'all want to know what this guy does for a living? Sell luxury real estate. And of course, if you know he's a real estate guru, he got to be selling some type of course or plan on a website. With all the backlash, I'm assuming that they shut the site down because they probably were getting a lot of BS emails. The guys like this, when they talk so arrogantly, you must assume that there's some big marketing genius, or they got it out the mud, or they built their business from the ground up to be talking like this. Or at least that's what we would assume, right? Nope. His granddad and a family friend literally helped him get his wealth. He basically got everything handed to him, and he's talking down on working class people. And again, for the nobody wants to work anymore people, this is the reason why people don't want to work for these companies.
People on this app are always like, eat the rich. Honey, most of you are not even willing to unfollow the rich on social media. Isn't there a girl on TikTok that's like, showing off her luxurious lifestyle, and it turns out her parents got their wealth from exploiting undocumented workers? There's still people in her comment section being like, but she's so funny, she's not like other rich girls, she feels so relatable in a way.
The entire education system was designed to keep you working all your entire life so that a few people in the world could stay and remain rich. In Rockefeller's own words, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. That's who built our education system. The education system sets up children so that they become robots, so that they are able to memorize information and not be able to become problem solvers, not be able to think for themselves. It was designed to make you conform to society's systems. It was designed to make you never question your authorities. It was designed to keep us all in uniform, which is why we wear uniform, so that we all don't become individuals and we all just become the same production of working bees.
So in addition to thin as in, another societal phenomenon that is making a comeback that should let everybody know that we are entering a fucked timeline is the return of the austerity Olympics. A phenomenal example of this is the man who came into my comments the other day to inform me that you don't have to shower every day, just like you don't have to eat every day. Another, arguably more common form that this takes, that I see a lot on social media, is people framing not having access to basic necessities in a way that is somehow a brag and a diss on people who have access to those at the same time. Like on one of my my other accounts, I said that one of my 2025 goals is to not DoorDash anymore. So I deleted DoorDash off my phone, and then I had a bunch of people commenting like, that's not a problem for me because I can't pay my electric bill. Okay, why? I'm sorry. I'm very sorry to hear that. Why are we bragging about this online? I think it really just goes back to the video that I made the other day where capitalism is very successfully convincing us that number one, needs aren't needs once capitalism removes access to them. And number two, that privilege is inherently unethical, that like being privileged to be able to pay your water bill makes you less ethical than somebody who can't pay their water bill. And therefore people are now competing in the austerity Olympics to prove that they are the best and most worthy people by reason of having the least of their needs met. I really just think going into, again, this fucked timeline that we're so clearly entering, everybody really needs to be interrogating where the rhetoric you're spreading comes from and who it is benefiting. Like, ask yourself, who is it benefiting for us to be getting into a competition online to see who can least afford to pay their electricity bill this month? Who is that benefiting? It's not the working class. A lot of y'all are out here tweeting, eat the rich, and then turning around and giving the rich your lunch money for free. I don't care how smart you think you are. Thoughts and opinions and hot takes are never formed in a vacuum. They are always informed by something. And if you are not constantly questioning and thinking to yourself, where are these takes that I believe coming from? You are just going to be spreading the propaganda of whoever is the sneakiest and most convincing, which, spoiler, it's whoever has the most money to pay for sneakiness and convincingness, which is billionaires. In conclusion, if we want everybody to have their basic needs met, the first step is to stop taking pride in not having your basic needs met. Things are never going to get better for the masses until we start acting as if the masses deserve better. So stop coming on social media to take pride in not having your needs met, as if that makes you somehow better than other people.
They want to make rich people poorer and poor people more comfortable.
It's been 4 years since this motherfucker said this, and I'm still trying to figure out how that's a bad thing.
Popular opinion about 9 to 5s, people who work 9 to 5s. And so as somebody who quit a corporate job after 4 weeks because I felt like I was being spiritually destroyed, I completely agree with this creator's video. She's basically saying that what they don't talk about when you work a corporate job is that you live for the weekend. You become this 80-20 person where 80% of your whole life and identity is like having this corporate job. And then the other 20% is being an actual human with like passions and interests outside of work. So what you don't realize if you've only ever worked at a corporate job is that if you quit it, and I'm not saying like to do something irresponsible right now if you're not thinking about doing it, I'm also not hating on people who work jobs because I understand bills need to be paid. But when I first quit that job and I was like allowed to do what I wanted with my time, I realized that there was this whole spiritual, creative, imaginative part of my brain that had been completely dormant. Like completely dormant since I was a child, basically. And when I no longer had to work a corporate job and essentially like sell my identity to excel at this corporate job, because let's be honest, the people who are suck-ups and are more fake tend to excel in those settings more. When I was free to be my own human, I felt like parts of my brain like light back up. That's how I discovered like now I'm a freelance writer and I have been for 8 years and I'm an entrepreneur and I've done like all these amazing things. I discovered I love traveling, which I never knew about myself. I discovered that I'm like nomadic. I would have never known that. And like all of these like parts of my brain lit up and we're like, oh, hey, Alex, by the way, like you like this. Oh, you actually are good at that. And that's going to bring you joy too. By the way, sorry, we've been asleep. Like we're here now. And those parts of your brain shut down when you work at corporate jobs because you are on autopilot. You're only using the same cells each day to do the same thing over and over again. And when you're not learning new information, when you're not in uncomfortable, unknown situations, and when you're not doing new things, that those parts of your brain like power down, literally. So then you end up trapped in this cycle because the parts of your brain that you essentially need to kind of convince you to quit this job, to go start the side hustle, to go work for yourself, to go be a freelancer, are dormant, they're asleep. And then the only way for me to have jumped into it is I had to make a crazy impulsive decision, which was honestly me just having a mental breakdown. And my mental breakdown was aggressive enough that I just quit a job with no plan because I've always been a pretty impulsive person. But for other people who aren't impulsive, who aren't black and white thinkers, all or nothing like me, working on that in therapy, you just end up trapped. and it needs to be talked about more. And I'm, again, not hating on people who work 9-to-5 jobs, because bills need to be paid. Like, I am not understanding of that. Trust me, I worked a 9-to-5 job. I understand, you guys, but there is something outside of it.
I am the only person in my office that takes a 1-hour lunch. The only person. I'm the youngest person. I'm not going to say my age, but I am the youngest person and the only person that takes a 1-hour lunch. We come in at 7 a.m. and we leave at 5 p.m. Those are 10-hour days, so those are 50-hour weeks. We're salary. We don't get paid for 50-hour weeks. We get paid for 40-hour weeks. Nobody takes an hour lunch. I take my hour lunch because why not? And then I feel like, these judgmental stares when I come back in, like, I don't care. I'm sorry. I'm not doing this. Work-life balance. Isn't that what I got interviewed for? You guys said, we care about work-life balance, blah, blah, blah. They're always trying to sell you this dream, paint you this picture. I'm so tired of these jobs. If you're my boss, I'm just kidding. I've been trying to figure out where his TikTok is so I can block him. Can't find it, though, so hopefully he doesn't have a TikTok.
I'm gonna have such a good day today! Fuck!
So I'm back to work after the holidays. I was off for 14 days and I feel like a peasant. It feels embarrassing to come back to work after 2 weeks off. Like, I feel like a peasant.
Papa, why are you sad?
My last day off before I got to go back to work.
Sorry, Papa Bell.
It went by so fast. Where did it go? What did we do?
I have no idea.
No more lions.
Well, we have a holiday coming up soon, so. Love you, Papa Bell.
Love you.
There are two main systems of law that govern the world we live in. Common law, the law of the land, and maritime law, the law of the sea. Our world has been taken over by an international system of commerce which is governed by the law of the sea. This system operates via the use of non-living entities called corporations. You too are classed as a corporation. The system treats you like livestock, an indentured slave, a publicly traded asset within the framework of commerce. Your birth certificate is key to understanding your enslavement. The surname on your birth certificate, deliberately written in capital letters, is not you. It is your agent in commerce, otherwise known as your straw man. Your straw man is an indentured, perpetual debtor operating in commerce under the law of the sea. Your birth certificate registration created a trust that enables the transmission of your productive and creative energy. Unbeknown to you, your trust is credited with millions and is the source of all your strawman's credit and underwrites all your strawman's payments and taxes. Your birth certificate trust is therefore like a ledger, with your strawman on the debit side and you, a living man or woman, on the credit side. As a beneficiary of a trust, your strawman is granted benefits and privileges, and you, as a living man or woman, have inalienable rights under the law of the land. Your birth certificate trust is worth millions. Everything your strawman funds is prepaid by you. You are the source of your strawman's credit. You are the source of your strawman's payments and taxes. You have inalienable rights and can make private law to remedy wrongdoing. Matrix freedom can make it easy for you to Access your birth certificate trust to recover payments you have made and set off your debts and taxes. Create private law to remedy losses caused to you by wrongdoing. We can help you to become mortgage-free. Recover your mortgage payments plus interest. Recover from your trust the equivalent to payments made from your personal and business bank accounts. Set off your credit card debt. Set off your personal and business loans. Set off your personal and business taxes.
They tell us to go to school, go to college, do 4 to 8 years in college. And when I get out, I try to go and work for a great company. And it's like, this is how you treat us? You don't give me a water break? Greed is like terrible, man. There's people out here struggling for real, y'all. Everybody's tired. It's 2024. There's no reason why you shouldn't want to pay your workers. And if you take care of your employees will take care of you. I don't understand why the fight has to be this hard. We're going to keep fighting. And we're going to win because I'm a fighter. And anything that I do, trust me, I win.
So I just got laid off from my full-time job a few days ago, which means I'm about to lose access to healthcare because I get my health insurance through my employer like so many other Americans do. We are the only developed nation that does this, the only developed nation that does not recognize healthcare as a basic human right, the only developed nation that does not have universal healthcare. I do have a couple options of what I can do. I can go on my ex-employer's health insurance, but I would be paying that out of pocket, and that would be probably around $700 a month, which is going to be hard to swing now that I'm out of a job. I could go without health insurance and just hope that I don't have a medical emergency that'll put me tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. You also get penalized on your tax return if you don't have health insurance. I could get married to my partner and get put on his health insurance that he gets through his employer. That's actually a very common practice in the US. A lot of people get married so they can go on their partner's health insurance. I can also purchase health insurance individually on the market. I've never done that before. I can't imagine that it's cheap, but that's probably the option I'm going to take. One of the stupidest things about the US is that our healthcare access is largely dependent on our employment status.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the newest trend. In 2020, we had quiet quitting. Well, guess what? Companies are at it now. They are doing quiet layoffs. And here's how it works. As you'll be aware, a lot of really big companies announced major layoffs this week. Companies like UPS, Amazon, Wayfair. As I'm sure you guys are aware, a lot of big companies just announced major layoffs. Companies like UPS, Amazon, and Wayfair. And we're talking tens of thousands of people. But we've also seen another trend, and this is it right here. Companies saying, we're forcing you back to the office 5 days a week, and you quit if you don't like it. The truth is, though, they would rather have you quit than have to publicly do more layoffs. This is what we call quiet layoffs. See, companies don't want to do public layoffs anymore. I mean, people record them on Zoom and go viral on TikTok, and you get a ton of negative press. It's much easier just to send a memo saying, we're requiring you back in the office 5 days a week. Even in this market where it's hard to find jobs, you can find hybrid jobs. So people are like, okay, I will quit. It's kind of an evil genius move by CEOs, if you ask me. My guess is we're going to see a lot of quiet layoffs in 2024.
The biggest scam on planet Earth is a job. Because think about it. You work for 40 years, 8 hours a day, and after 40 years, you are still broke. How is that not a scam?
The 62 richest people in the world, most of whom are Americans, not all American, but most of whom are U.S. citizens. The 62 richest people together have more wealth than the bottom half of the population of this planet. Roughly 3.5 billion people. That's beyond obscene. I don't know. I don't have an adjective that captures this, but I can describe what it means. If you look at all the statistics of the World Health Organizations, the bottom half of our population are people who die way earlier than they need to. Why? Because their diets are no good, or they don't have enough food in the first place, or they can't get to a clinic to have little problems that are easily solved by modern medical methods taken care of. It's unspeakable what happens to the lower half. If we took half the wealth of the richest, and they would still be the richest, and made it available to the bottom half, it would transform their lives, literally. Now, there's no moral or ethical justification for this situation.
Don't get it twisted. The only minority that is ruining our world is the 1% of rich people. The very top 1%. That's the only minority that's ruining the world. Okay?
We're actually slaves in a large open prison. It's a new form of slavery. It's not overt. It's a type of slavery that we think we're free. As a whole bunch of us are trying to poke at the fences and figure out how to actually live free.
How would you define that slavery?
It's not the same kind of slavery as in the the 1700s. Those slaves knew who the masters were, and they knew they were slaves. This type of slavery is that we think we're free. We think we've got free choice, but when you really think about it, we're controlled by money and by corporations and entities and like the police and the courts. And we're not really free at all. You try not paying your bills, just in the conventional way, just not pay your bills, and you'll find the machinery starts working against you.
But look, our position on this is clear. If you arrive here illegally, you will not be able to claim asylum here. You will not be able to access the modern slavery system, and you will not be able to make spurious human rights claims. That is the right thing to do.